Hello and welcome. I have made an NBA futures bet. I did so on Wednesday morning, and that is for the Philadelphia 76ers to win the Eastern Conference at 37 to 1 odds. Earlier today, the Cleveland Cavaliers traded quite a bit of their team away, including point guard Isaiah Thomas, somebody whom they acquired to decide that they didn't really want to compete too much, giving the Boston Celtics a better chance to win the conference as they were able to get Kyrie Irving. It does seem as if there's only two real teams that have a decently legitimate shot, without thinking on an advanced level anyway, to win the conference. That being the Boston Celtics and the Toronto Raptors, and the Philadelphia 76ers I think have the third best chance. Maybe I'm a little too optimistic, but as I see it, I'm looking at a Philadelphia 76ers team that has been playing really well lately, is barely ahead of the final playoff spot. But as it stands right now, Ben Simmons is an amazing athlete. One of the best passers in the NBA, and he's a rookie. He doesn't play the point guard position like most point guards. He'll never shoot for three, and his free throws suck. But he can get to the rim and make some very sweet both points, dunks, and assists while in the paint. So this is a team I think that can go far in the playoffs, but Joel Embiid is another big reason for... He missed a lot of time last season due to medical reasons, was never able to play back-to-backs, and when he played, his fantasy scores were tremendous. He's a very talented player, but in the playoffs, that's what we don't get, are back-to-backs. He's playing more playing time this year than last year. I've even noticed the 76ers beating the San Antonio Spurs lately on the road. They beat the Boston Celtics and the Toronto Raptors recently as well. So they're beating some really good teams at this stage. I don't know if they can beat the Golden State Warriors, which is why I wouldn't want to take them to win the NBA Finals. I do think whoever wins the Eastern Conference Finals will be the loser against the Western Conference Final. Now, Ben Simmons, in his game on Sunday, was intentionally fouled almost every single play in the fourth quarter because he can't shoot. And it's an interesting strategy. However, if he can get to a 60% free throw rate, then that would stop teams from doing the strategy of intentionally fouling this player. And I don't know if, even if that doesn't happen, I still think they have a decent chance. Boston Celtics, they have the much better team now with... of course, having Kyrie in on their lineup. And the Toronto Raptors have been doing good for a while, but the Raptors have not been known as good playoff team either. Now, within these sites, I used CloudBet to make the wager, which is where you actually bet Bitcoin. I wagered what happened to be the maximum bet, at least at that time, which to me is not much at all. 0.0028 BTC to win a little over a dime. With 37 to 1 odds, I've seen 40 to 1 almost, at least yesterday morning, practically everywhere. So it's a little lower than what the market rate was. I have to think the Cleveland Cavaliers are much, much lower than they were. They did trade Isaiah Thomas, like I stated earlier today, as well as a bunch of other players. They've totally changed that team. And I just think there's a lot of value in this just for the reasons that I present itself. They would, getting into the playoffs, this is a team nobody would want to face. When I talk about the Raptors and the Celtics, and definitely, I would not expect the Cavaliers right now to beat Philadelphia. It's also a team, if you are, I was going to say day trading, but if you're betting every single day, to really look into. They are covering many spreads lately. And potentially in the playoffs, you can get some very good series prices when we move in there. If they play a team like, say, Toronto, maybe you might get 3-1 odds, 3.5, 4-1 odds for them to win the series. Usually the much higher ranked teams, because Boston and Toronto, the winner of that division is going to be the #1 seed. And Philadelphia, I think they might have a good chance of even moving up to a 7 or 6 seed. But regardless of the fact, I think they can take those top teams. Now, mathematically, the chances of getting in, and we'll assume hypothetically that it's a 50-50 shot that they make the playoffs. Well, to make the playoffs and to win 3 rounds in a row, that's 2 to the power of 4, and that equals 16. And if you're in the playoffs, then you got to win 3 series in a row to go to the NBA or to accomplish such a feat. Now, mathematically, you would say, well, if they have a better chance than normal, obviously the numbers would be lower, and a worse chance they'd be higher. But because I think they'd have a realistically good chance against those kinds of teams that I mentioned, and if they can find a way to not face the Boston Celtics or the Toronto Raptors in the first round, regardless of the fact they only have to, well, if they play other teams that are not them, they'd have a better chance of winning as well. This is definitely a team, if we look as a dynasty upcoming, most certainly could be that with, of course, these 2 names. When you keep on finishing dead last over and over, like they have done, and you get these players come in that can do very, very well, and that's just a recipe for great success. I don't think, again, if they played the Golden State Warriors, they'd be lucky to win a game. I know they beat the San Antonio Spurs, but yeah, I'd like to thank you for watching this video. Of course, everything is within your own risk, own reward. Take care.